So every year you think to yourself, I really should be investing in real estate. So what are you waiting for? So I'm a big believer that real estate is a great asset that should be included in everyone's overall financial portfolio. But for some people, owning real estate may not be the right thing. Why? That's what we're talking about today. There's definitely some things that you need to think about before you become a landlord or real estate investor. And so let's get to it. So if you're interested in updated real estate advice, landlord advice, and the scoop and the nitty-gritty about managing rental property, then you're in the right place. My name is Sue Richey. I own a residential property management company here in Northern Virginia. We manage almost 1,000 properties for investors, and we've been doing this for a long time. And I've seen a lot of landlords who started down this path, but then pretty soon they just decided it wasn't right for them, even though we were managing a lot of the process. So there are 5 things I want to share with you today that can help you, some questions you want to ask yourself, and that will help you determine whether owning a rental property is the right thing for you. Okay, so in every market, there are definitely opportunities to buy property. Lately, especially here in Northern Virginia, our inventory has been extremely low. People who have had, very low interest rates have decided not to move. And so the overall inventory has been low and interest rates have been high. So that combination has created a market where it's been very challenging as a buyer because there are so few houses, and any buyers that are out there, they're all competing for the same thing. And so it becomes harder and harder for an investor. But that's just if you're doing it the traditional way, using a realtor to help you. You've got to start being creative and looking for those properties, off-market deals, looking for properties that rented and maybe the lease is coming up, and reaching out to those owners and asking if they might want to sell houses that were on the market before that never sold. There's a number of things that we're doing to try to create the inventory that isn't there, but there's always opportunity. So if you've got some cash and you're ready to go, here are some things that I want you to think about before deciding if buying a rental property is the right thing for you in 2024. First, let's talk about landlord mindset. I talked about this in multiple videos, but I think this is one of those things that it's not some hard and fast thing like saving up a bunch of money to make your down payment and so on. This is really a mindset thing, and it's an important piece of it. So we manage a lot of properties for people. Some of those people have owned their home and they moved out. To them, it's very personal. And so that mindset shift can be a little bit more difficult than somebody who's just buying a property, never lived in it, no emotional ties. But either way, once you own a rental property, you now own a business. We say this to our property owners. They own a business. We are their business manager, and we just make sure that everything works for them. We maximize their revenues, manage their expenses, and it needs to be that sort of mindset. So you can't get too upset when things go sideways, because they will. There will be problems. There will be things that break. There will be tenants who don't pay. There will be all kinds of things that some of them you don't even know what you may encounter. But having that right mindset that this is a business and you will encounter problems, but you're going to overcome them. And you have to also think about surrounding yourself with a team who can help you manage that property. We'll talk about that in a minute. So that first one, landlord mindset, really, really important. The second thing when it comes to selecting or purchasing a rental property is you want to choose the right location. So if this is your first purchase, then it's probably a good idea. You're probably going to want to purchase it in your same hometown or your same area, because you don't even know what you're doing yet. You don't know how you're going to feel. You don't know if you want to manage it or you're going to have somebody manage it. Even if you have someone else manage it, you can at least drive by it easily. So that's one consideration. Where do you want to buy it? The other thing is when you're looking at location, it may be important to get the help of a professional like a realtor or a property manager, and somebody who can advise you on what areas in your town are good rental areas. Where do they see low vacancy rates? Where do they see the demand for rental housing? Those are areas you want to focus on. It's generally going to be places that are close to work centers, maybe closer to a major metropolitan, to the city, close to transportation. But whatever those are, start to identify those and really think about those locations, then look at the price and make sure that aligns with your budget and what you can do. So once you've kind of adopted this landlord mindset, you've thought about the location, a little bit about the price, then you want to really think about the type of property property that you want to buy. Some people come to us and they know already, they are not handy, they don't want to spend a lot of money on fixer-uppers, and so they want something much more turnkey. If you are going to use a lot of your initial resources in your down payment and in your closing costs and just enough to get in the property, and again, keeping some for reserves, you may not have a lot to do a renovation. So you need to take all of that into account. You may not want to do a renovation. But then there are other people who are looking for that deal. When you look for that deal, when you know you can put in your sweat equity, you can do some cosmetic repairs, maybe even some more major improvements, you know you're going to get that money back, and you've got to decide what kind of property do you want. Maybe you're open to both. Maybe it just depends on the kind of property. That's fine. But whoever you're working with to help you get that property, make sure they're on the same page as you, and so that you can look for exactly what you want. But you also have to know what you don't want. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the location and then price. The other thing you have to ask yourself is, and plan for, is having a budget for repair and maintenance. Hands down, this is super important. We get a lot of owners who get frustrated or mad when things happen and things break. Like I said, this is going to happen. If the rent comes in late, they're dependent only on that rent coming in to pay their mortgage. It really shouldn't be that way, and you really need to have some kind of a buffer because there will be hiccups. So you need to make sure you are responsible for your mortgage. Your tenant is not responsible to pay the rent so that you can pay the mortgage. You are responsible for the mortgage on your own. And oh, by the way, this tenant helps you pay that mortgage. So keep that in mind. But keeping that reserve, making sure that you do have a buffer for repairs and maintenance is going to help you just have that cushion so you're not stressed out all the time. Okay, so a good ballpark is about 1% of the property's value. So if your property is worth about $500,000, expect to budget about $5,000 a year. And that can vary, obviously, depending on how new the property is, how updated it is. The more updated and new it is, you should generally have less repair and maintenance versus a home that's much older that hasn't been really renovated or updated in years. So you take that into account, but that's a good rule of thumb to budget. And again, hopefully you don't have to spend it, but you have it. Okay, and then my fifth thing that I want you to think about is whether you want to be a passive investor or an active investor. This largely depends on whether you have the time. It really comes down to time. If your property that you purchase is in your area, well, you can make a decision because you will be here and be able to manage it. A lot of people who are not in the area choose to have someone manage it for them. People do try to manage it from a distance, and it is possible, but I'll tell you, it is not ideal. Not ideal for you, and not ideal for your tenant, because oftentimes there is a time difference. So a lot of times people are across the world and they think they can just call a handyman and get things fixed, but there is more to it than that, as we've talked about in many videos. Inspections, collecting rent, just being timely with so many other things I can't even get into in this video. But you have to decide if you want to be that active investor or if you want to turn it over to a property management company to help you, to really be a partner with you, to be the one being that middleman, taking care of all the day-to-day things so that you can be the owner of this new rental property business. I just had a call with an investor today who was interested in purchasing a number of properties, and he must have known I was just going to make this video because everything he said was very much in line with all of this. He already knows that he does not want to manage the property. He wants someone to help him find the right thing, lease it out, manage it. He wants to approach this as a business and as the owner and of a portfolio of rental properties, not as the person doing all of the work. That's what our companies like us do. So there you have it. Those are 5 things I would tell you to think about before you even think about buying a rental property in 2024. Again, I believe real estate is a great asset to add to your portfolio, but it isn't for everyone. So think about it. And if you live in Northern Virginia, we would be more than happy to have a conversation with you about your goals and what we could do to help you buy the right property this year and make being a landlord or real estate investor part of your success stories for 24. Thanks again for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Please share it with others and hit that bell so you'll be notified every time we make a new video. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.